then you have Jake Paul, Gervonta Davis. That's the state of boxing.
Yeah, that's
right
crazy.
Let that sink in.
Jake
That's
Paul,
right
Gervonta Davis is so crazy. 135 versus 200. That is so nuts.
Go, the rehydration limit or something is 195. And he goes, wait, I thought it was 190. Dean, that's bad. Because you know what that tells me? That tells me that even he recognizes that he's too big for him. Yes. He recognizes that he's too big for him.
One thing that is not the common thing to have in a contract if I'm Tank. A ladder. A ladder. Can I get a ladder? Somebody? You know what I mean? Hey, look, all kidding aside, if he hits him on the chin the way he can punch, Jake might be doing a dance. You know what I mean? Not voluntarily either. But we'll get into that more later.
Joe Rogan analyzed the highly anticipated Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis bout in a recent podcast, stating, "This could get ugly." He reminded the fighters that weight divisions exist for a purpose by highlighting the significant weight differential. Although Jake Paul has an advantage because to his size and power, Rogan pointed out that Gervont's skill and speed make it interesting. However, the disparity in size could make the struggle risky and unjust.
My opinion is, I just want to say, in case someone calls me into court, I'm a fucking idiot and I don't know nothing. And don't take my advice.
I love the Saudis.
Don't take my opinion.
I love the Israeli government. I love
That
everybody.
had nothing to do with them. That was Jake Paul promoting it. You know, it's just like,
but
doesn't bother me.
There's compromising the sport, and that's like bad. It's just like
If I bet on it,
watching it with people who are so in on it, and then also man, the sports betting apps, they introduced like chat apps in them in Australia, so it's like they're trying to take the place of social media companies where you go together and you meet your friends. Like betting should be exciting enough without having a weird.
They're just trying to draw you in. They're just trying to make money, right? So they're trying to draw you in.
Joe Rogan frequently highlights the ridiculous disparity in weight between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul. While Davis has spent the majority of his career at lightweight, at 135 pounds, Paul has been competing at cruiserweight, close to 195 to 200 pounds.
It is happening. WBA lightweight champion Gervonta Davis, who's unbeaten in 31 professional contests, takes on the self-proclaimed problem child, Jake Paul, one of the most influential and marketable global personalities. Paul and Davis square off in Miami after doubts around the fight being sanctioned in Georgia triggered a change in venue. Neither fighter can weigh more than 195 pounds. The weight is perhaps the most surprising factor. Paul has boxed most of his career around 200 pounds, the cruiserweight limit, but did tip the scales at 227 pounds when he faced off against Iron Mike Tyson last year. Davis, much smaller in stature, competes at the 135 pound mark and has also won world honours at super featherweight.
And despite some discussions about possibly dropping down to 10 ounces, the pair seem set to wear 12-ounce gloves.
And in terms of distance, despite the exhibition tag, the fight will play out over 10 3-minute rounds with 3 scoring judges at ringside, but the result will not be officially recorded on their professional records.
Athletic commissions and boxing purists have also voiced their disapproval. According to some, ordinary regulations would never permit such a significant discrepancy. They note that significant disparities compromise the sport's credibility, even in the presence of catchweights or exhibition status.
No, he shouldn't.
You don't think? Sorry. So, I thought we were all unanimous here. You think that Jake Paul beats Gervonta Davis?
70 pounds is 70 pounds. Gervonta Davis is very small. 5'5".
He's tiny, bro.
That's
what I'm saying.
Jake Paul
He's
6'1".
a little man.
If Jake Paul's tucking up,
move on,
and absorbing punishment for walking forward, then look, there's a waiting one.
For Broen, this fight is less about competition and more about show. It's crazy what he said about 135 versus 200, highlighting how ridiculous it is from the perspective of traditional boxing. He is likewise concerned about the danger. Punches can carry a lot more force when one fighter is that much heavier than the other. It increases the risk of severe harm. Even if the smaller fighter is more skilled at boxing, they may still be more vulnerable.
In boxing, so you got Canelo Crawford, you got Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, that's happening, and then you have Jake Paul, Gervonta Davis. That's the state of boxing.
Yeah, that's
right now.
crazy.
Let that sink in.
Jake
That's
Paul,
boxing right now.
Gervonta Davis is so crazy. 135 versus 200. That is so nuts.
They're all expedition.
None of them are.
Yeah, they're exhibitions.
But what does that mean?
Just means that you don't really. Nobody wins.
They're not. It's kind of. I mean,
It's weird.
I don't want Jake to assume they're not. It's not like a real scrap. It's
So-
not real.
Really? So they're not trying to knock each other out?
No.
Well, Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather don't like each other. They have not liked each other forever.
Tyson and Mayweather.
Yes,
But they like
Mike
Mayweather.
Tyson and Mayweather don't like each other.
Huh.
If there's a fight that might be real, like where Mike Tyson might say, "I'm going to knock this out," or "I'm going to try to knock this motherfucker."
It would be.
A number of unique regulations are being implemented for this battle due to the gap. For instance, neither fighter's professional record will be affected because it is classified as an exhibition fight. Despite being an exhibition, there are limitations such as glove size, a predetermined catch weight of 195 pounds, and the appointment of judges.
If you do fight, what weight would it be at?
195.
Oh, wow. So he would go all the way from 40 to 95?
Yeah, I mean it would be an exhibition.
Okay. But what does that mean? Is that 3-minute rounds?
Yeah, 10 3-minute rounds.
And when you say exhibition, like, what are the restrictions on that?
No restrictions, just the fact that like we couldn't actually get it professionally sanctioned.
Daniel Cormier and other critics agree, stating that although Gervonta is the more accomplished boxer, the extreme weight difference runs the risk of turning this into more of a show than a sport. He stresses that it is impossible to ignore the fact that Tank is much smaller than Jake Paul. He claims that such a fight goes beyond what is often considered appropriate in boxing. He publicly challenges how the appropriate authorities ever approved a fight with such a glaring disparity.
I can't say the word that I want to say because I don't want to get canceled, but this fight should not be happening, and the press conference was embarrassing. Gervonta Davis should not have a mic in front of him. It was absolutely embarrassing watching this thing.
Why, D?
Just the fact that like every time when Jake Paul would say something to Gervonta Davis, he didn't know how to answer it. He was comparing himself to like P. Diddy at moments, and I was like, oh my God, get a mic away from this guy. This fight shouldn't be happening. And then he didn't even know what weight they were fighting. Like, I thought
That's
it was
bad,
190
D.
or 195.
That was the craziest thing. That was the thing that stood out to me the most. Was that when they go, the rehydration limit or something is 195, and he goes, wait, I thought it was 190. D, that's bad, because you know what that tells me? That tells me that even he recognizes that he's too big for him. Yes. He recognizes that he's too big for him.
According to Cormier E., a lot of boxers now drastically reduce their weight just before a fight, frequently dehydrating themselves in the process. The danger doubles when there is a significant weight disparity in the ring. The larger but worn-out combatant may also be compromised, while the smaller fighter is already at a disadvantage. The disparity is exacerbated in situations like Paul vs. Davis, where one competitor may rehydrate and enter at a significantly bigger and physically stronger weight.
I think it's the most dangerous thing in the world. With us, we would go on Thursday night. If I weighed 216 and I had to be 205 by Friday morning, I would get as low as I possibly could and then try to go to bed. So if I'd get to 207, I would hope that by the morning I'd be 206. I'd only have to lose a pound in the morning. So I'm dehydrated for 12, 13, 14 hours. Those guys today are going to bed at that weight, Joe, 10, 11 over, and waking up at like 4 or 5 in the morning and cutting the weight, because they said if they cut all that weight, they don't sleep, which I can attest to. It don't matter how much melatonin you take, you're so dehydrated. You're not gonna get a good night's sleep. I think it's dangerous.
Why is it dangerous?
Because you have to cut 10 pounds in 4 hours. If you don't, you're screwed. Because the worst possible feeling, you expect to lose 8, but you might lose 6 or 5.5. And then you're like,
Additionally, Cormier expresses his shock at the way this bout between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis has been put up, saying that in his opinion, the plan is faulty from the start. He remembers the press conference where Tank himself seemed unsure of the fight's weight class. This detail, in Cormier's opinion, is not insignificant. Rather, it amply illustrates how peculiar and disorganized the organization is. Weight classifications are used in sport to protect fighters and maintain balance. Therefore, the ambiguity around this match is extremely worrisome.
Jake Paul. Yesterday they had their first press conference. One of the most recognizable things is Jake Paul is huge compared to Gervonta Davis. And two, Gervonta Davis don't even know what weight they fight, D.
Maximum weight of 195 pounds for this exhibition. The fight will be contested over 10 3-minute rounds.
I said it was 190.
The fight is 195 pounds, Tank, as you know.
DC, I watched this, and we have our priorities way misplaced when we're talking about boxing. Like, everybody's complaining about this Ali act and all. Like, how is something like this allowed to happen? How is Jake Paul allowed to fight Gervonta Davis? It's
I don't know.
Completely unfair. It is completely just, I can't say the word that I want to say because I don't want to get canceled.
Coach Calvin Ford has stated that he is quite concerned about some safety details, but he has also expressed cautious optimism over the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight. Although he acknowledges that the size difference is significant, he claims that Davis agreed to the requirements. Therefore, Ford isn't changing his mind. The glove size is Ford's biggest complaint. He contends that 12 Oz gloves are usually used for training rather than competition. To lower the risk and partially balance things, he has pushed for a compromise where Paul wears 10 Oz gloves and Davis wears 8 Oz. Ford claims that after bringing up the matter with a member of Paul's camp, he was informed that they don't want mix and match.
My only concern is, the gloves. You understand what I'm saying? Because we don't fight in 12-ounce gloves. We don't use 12-ounce gloves. That's training gloves, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, that's 2 pounds away from Jake. He fights in 10s. Tank fighting 8s, so he losing 4 ounces. So my thing is, I said, they said, put Tank in 8s, put him in 10s. That makes the fight more interesting. You know what I'm saying? And we'll go from there because I understand. And I brought that question up to one of his handlers. They was, no, we don't want to do no mixed match. It's supposed to be an expedition. What, now you want the wins and the loss. You know what I'm saying? All these prescriptions, but you want to be great. Being great is really pushing the envelope. You know what I'm saying? Tank don't really care, So when I brought this up, he said, dang, facts. You know what I'm saying? So, again, he can weigh the 10s and we weigh the 8s. Then we got to fight.
Despite the reservations, Ford thinks the fight is possible since he has seen Davis take on bigger opponents in the gym and during training. Additionally, he supports Davis's choice to accept this fight rather than a rematch with Lamont Roach, claiming that many elite fighters would have seized the chance and that battles with more well-known opponents increase attention. Ford has also discussed the change in plans, stating that they were first getting ready for a rematch with Lamont Roach before being fortunate enough to face Jake Paul. Ford contends that this Paul battle offers greater publicity and financial gain, even though a Roach rematch made sense from a sports perspective. In support of the ruling, he asserts that Davis earned those opportunities, suggesting that boxers occasionally need to seize larger opportunities when they present themselves.
How are we with everything, man? How's Tank been?
A good headspace, great headspace, looking good, just trying to go through our stages, it's like pre-camp, then camp, get them from, we ain't fought in a while, you know what I'm saying? We was getting prepared for a Roach, and then we got blessed with this fight. That's how I look at it,
Interesting comment there that they were getting ready for the Roach rematch, and then this fight was, he said they got blessed with this fight, but this fight came through. So the plan was actually to go and rematch Lamont Roach, which is something that I think he should have done. I think they for Tank's legacy, for, just the sanctity of pro boxing when it comes to a world champion and what they do with that world championship belt. I think he should have taken the Lamont Roach rematch. It seems like they were going to, but the obvious reason that everyone, I think, knows why they didn't is because Netflix and a Jake Paul fight come with a massive bag. Like, there's probably no comparison to what Tank will make to fight Lamont Roach or anybody else compared to Jake Paul. Whether you like that or not, it's the truth. He is a money fight, and so is Tank. And that's why they're going to get a ton of viewers on Netflix and why they're going to both make a shit ton of money. So, the away from that is that they were starting to get their minds and body ready for Lamont Roach, which means that Tank was in somewhat of a serious pre-camp, right? Somewhat of a serious, workout regimen, getting himself in shape. Not that Tank is super out of shape out of camp, I don't know that. But this means that he was mentally preparing for a fight regardless. It's not hopping off the couch Tank. which is not what you want to see, even against Jake Paul, because the least serious you take Jake, and I've said this about everybody that's fought him, the ones that don't take him serious, the ones that say he's a YouTuber, and they end up losing, or they end up looking like, oh, wait a second, this guy was a little better than I thought. They end up getting taken by surprise, or actually sometimes losing because they don't realize that Jake actually takes it serious. So this is good to hear. Just already, right off the rip, they were already doing
Surprise. So tell me, when did you hear about this?
They've been going back and forth for years, Tank and Jake. They've been going at it for years, and it would have happened sooner, you know what I'm saying? But we have hiccups in life. That's what I call it, hiccups, but they lessons to learn from. But we back on track and keeping it moving.
When you heard about the fight, were you like, wait, what? Like, we're doing what?
When I heard about the fight, they called me and said, what you thought about the fight? I say, the fight doable.
Many experts said they couldn't believe Gervonta Tank Davis would risk his life to fight Jake Paul for financial gain. They questioned why the recently crowned world champion should be concentrating on defending his title and establishing his boxing legacy rather than chasing a payday versus a YouTuber. It's difficult to comprehend how someone at Tank's level might experience financial difficulties so quickly after experiencing significant success. According to Daniel Cormier, he sees this action as more akin to desperation or poor management than a champion's choice. He feels that Tank should prioritize his long-term career and reputation over immediate financial gain, particularly when the bout appears to be more of a show than a legitimate athletic contest.
Jake Paul promoting it. You know, it's just doesn't bother me.
There's compromising the sport, and that's like bad. It's just like
if I bet on it,
watching
it bothers the fuck out of me.
Watching it with people who are so in on it, and then also man, the sports betting apps they introduced like chat apps in them in Australia, so it's like they're trying to take the place of social media companies where you go together and you meet your friend. Like betting should be exciting enough without having a weird.
They're just trying to draw you in.
Thing.
They're just trying to make money, right? So they're trying to draw you in any way they can.
Yeah.
The boxing associations that consented to approve the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis bout were harshly attacked by Cormier. He called it a disgrace to the sport and stated that he cannot trust any organization that permits such an unfair matchup. Instead of defending boxers or upholding boxing's traditions, Cormier thinks these groups are only after money and attention. He believes that allowing a fight between a cruiserweight and a natural lightweight makes the sport appear desperate for viewers. He maintained that boxing loses legitimacy and turns into entertainment rather than true combat when bouts like this are permitted. He claimed that the individuals in charge of these organizations have made boxing a disgrace and are more concerned with making money than with the integrity or safety of the fighters. Do you believe that Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul is a legitimate matchup or merely a cash grab? Leave a comment below with your comments.